Which means it's a repeat pattern. And it does, my press isn't big enough to cover a big sheet of paper. So I've got to plan where that hits the paper and how I'm going to cut that. So there are some interesting things there. I think, Candy, the star books we're doing next week would be a really interesting thing to do with macro flowers, because they open like a flower and you could put.
Oh, that would,
be cool.
Let me switch over the other camera so we can talk about that a little bit. Why is this not letting me do this? Host disabled attendee screen printing. What? Screen sharing. I did. That's not good. This is going to be a very long night. Somehow I showed up as an attendee.
Because you gave your host away.
Well, I might have to take my host back.
Here.
Oh, the things I'm learning.
I just changed the host back to you.
Okay, let's see what that is.
It's supposed to be able to share a host.
We'll just have to walk.
Sorry we're late.
there, that works.
All right. I guess I have to be host.
You know what, Jeff? I'll figure it out for next time how to share.
Yeah, I'm sure. I know it can be done. I've been in groups where everybody can do everything. So
Yeah, I'll ask my friend.
I'm not worried about autonomy. So, but Starbucks, let's get these out of the way. Next week books, it's a variation of accordion book with these folds. And if you could make just one that's big and put a flower in that and open that up, and it would be, it would open up like a flower. Or you could keep them small and do them page after page. But there's no reason you have to have multiple pages in a book like this. You could have two covers and just one great big thing that blows up. And there are all kinds of fancy folds that people do. I mean, this is nothing. This is the beginning.
Hey.
They're ones that fold out into great big things. And in a fairly logical way, you can get them back together. That's always my worry. Can I put it back? So we'll look at that for next week. Think about what you shoot and how that would work. I also want to talk about paper. Let me pull something out of, I put a book in the book press today that was having the problem I want to talk about. And I want to talk about some of the materials I sent you and their limitations and what we can do about it and why and how I won't do it anymore. So this is the sample that I made for today's class. And this is a Lacta. And I just came out of the press, so some things might be stuck together. Sometimes when you pull them out of the press, you've got to tease things back. Let me give you some more room. Look. They're not. So, but you can see there's a stain on the cover here and a stain on the cover there. That's never a good thing. And that's characteristic of Lacta that's really thin. And the Lacta I used for this, and I don't think I sent anybody this pattern. It's pretty though. It's gold on orange or on tangerine. And then there's another one. It's the same Lacta with the gold on the pistachio, chartreuse.
Oh, pretty.
And I really like that paper, but I ordered that from Michigan. I didn't have it in my hand, and it's thinner than will take the paste. It takes paste fine. It goes right through it. So there are two different ways to deal with this. One is, well, three ways. One is don't use it. And if I send it to you in the kits for today, we're gonna have to figure out how to work around that. And there are ways. You can use a glue stick, which isn't as wet as paste. It's a lot more work to use a glue stick on a large surface. This isn't a huge book, but it won't soak through. The second thing is you could line it, which we're not going to do. You do that with fabric. This is a French dish towel that I bought, and I lined it with paper so that when I paste it, the glue won't come through. And this is something I would do as a mini lesson sometime. But even when you set this up, paste comes through. There's some minor staining in this. that I'm going to have to work around. So if you're working with Locta, you want to look at the catalog and talk to your dealer and ask for heavy Locta. I had no idea it came in different thicknesses. And this, I kept getting these Loctas that bled through, and I've got a million of them that aren't really much good to me if I'm making books. They'd be good for flyleafs and liners and things. But I talked to my paper dealer here, and he told me there were different thicknesses, and you need to ask for heavy. And I don't think that was true back when I was using them before, because I never had any problems. But anyway, neither here nor there. If you're using Locta today, and I talk about paste, use a glue stick. That's going to be the big difference today. But these are Loctas, and they didn't stain. These are thicker Loctas. So I don't know. I mean, you just got to play with it. This is where you have to experiment and make some decisions. Also, Bookarts, it's an experimental process, and I think that's pretty obvious, that you need to make a model or two or three before you really get a sense of what a finished book is going to be like. I don't sit down and make a book, very seldom sit down and make a book that ends up the way I want it to be. I make two or three models and work out or do the problem solving. And Sally had an issue with that this week. She had a book she did with 3 windows, and you cut it down to 1, didn't you, Sally?
No, my biggest problem was with the spacing of the stitching and making mock-ups to solve that.
That makes sense.
And cutting it off and doing it again.
All right, so let's build a book, guys.
Yeah.
So let's start with your paste. If you have printed paper like this, paste is not a problem. It's not going to be a problem at all. So look at your kit and decide what papers you want to use. If you're going to use a Locta, that porous paper, you're going to want to use a glue stick. If you have paper like a marbled paper or a printed paper, the Italian prints or the pictorial stuff, it'll all be fine with paste. And when you open your paste, it's going to look like it's going to be flat on the top and it's going to look like a brand new jar of peanut butter. And you need to drip some water into the middle of that and work the paste brush into it until you get something that's the consistency of pudding. I think that I've been all day trying to decide how to describe that. Is that pudding-like?
Pudding? Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't quite drip off the brush, but it's liquid. And when you, open the container, it's not. It's just a big clump of wheat paste in there. The other thing you need to know, about Yes Paste is it will rot. It'll grow things in it. I have not kept this one in the refrigerator, but I've had it go bad. So if you're concerned about that, you might want to keep it in your fridge.
And where can I find that paste, Jeff?
I bought it on Amazon.
Okay.
So that's not who I want to buy it from, but they have it. And so does Hollanders in Michigan, and so does, well, actually, I don't know. I haven't seen it at Dolphin, so.
I have seen it at scrapbooking stores,
Okay.
if that's convenient to look.
Yeah, none of the store. I live in Washington State. None of those stores are open yet. We're still pretty locked down
Right.
out here.
Right.
So I had to glue stick from Walmart. That's going to have to do it tonight.
That's going to work. It'll work. There are also wheat paste recipes online
Oh,
where you
okay.
mix wheat and water and you put it in the microwave. Don't do the stir. I mean, you can do the stir ones, but the traditional stir ones, you're at the stove stirring, and I mean, it's like old cream of wheat cereal. You got to stir and stir and stir and stir. And there's some non-stir recipes using the microwave. I've never used them, but people do. And there are people that know a lot more than I do that do that. So that's another alternative. Glue stick's going to work. Even
right.
PVA, which is Elmer's glue, works. It's just very different.
I've got an Elmer's Craft Bond glue, but I don't know if that will work.
It probably will. I don't know why it wouldn't.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to add water, like if I use it today and I don't use it for a week, sometimes you have to add water again.
You do, but not immediately. I've got somebody messaging me from class. Oh, I got kicked out. I got to let them back in. Just a second. I do know how to do that now. Okay. So this one, yes, I kind of check it every time, and I add, it's not unusual to add water to it. It's not unusual to open it and find it fine. You just got to kind of get a sense of what you want it to be like and leave it there. And the other thing is you don't want to stir the whole pot. You're just going to stir the part you're working with. If I were to dig down here, it's still as hard as like peanut butter at the bottom on the side. You just kind of draw it towards the middle. All right, let's make a book. So you should have 2 squares. Those are roughly 5 inches. I don't remember exactly what they are. I've cut so much paper, I couldn't keep a dimension in my head to save my life. You should have 5 of these. 1, 2, 3, I have 5. 5 of these. These are your pages. When you design your own, you could put 55. Actually, let me share something. I'll share that in a minute. Let's keep one thought at a time, Jeff. And then you should have 2 boards. So this is a hardback book. So the exciting thing tonight is you're going to learn how to cover boards, and they're going to look really nice and really crisp and really clean like this. Imagine this without the stains. You have these nice tight tucks and these hard edges, and this is really exciting. This is where you go to, I mean, hardback books, that's a cool thing. Quickly show you this. This is an accordion book. There's a video about it on somewhere on my YouTube, and I'm not even going to cover half that material. But I want to show you that you can just go nuts adding pages to these. I forget how many pages, 40, 50 pages. And it just goes on and on and on and on. And it's bound in a binding, case binding, like a hardback book. And it opens up in all kinds of ways. I think I say in the video how long it is. I think it's about 40 feet long if you open it up. So you can do really amazing things. Don't limit yourself to 5 pages. That's just to keep us sane today. All right, so I talk about paste papers. We touched on that last week. Magazines work really well. I was going to grab one and I didn't, but I still have tons of paper cutoffs from your job projects next to me. So I put down this white paper just to protect my work surface and so that I can glue all the way to the edge. And I've changed my technique today. For my entire life, I would have pasted the paper, but I'm trying not to drive the paste through the paper because of that Locta problem. So I'm going to paste the card. So I've got a piece of card here, and I showed you how to do this with a glue stick. And if you're working with Locta, use a glue stick. If you're not, use the paste. And I'm going to work from the center. I'm going to put a finger right there, and I'm just going to work out from the center. Just radiate out from my finger. Then I'm going to move my finger slightly and do the same thing on the other half. So the whole thing, so you know there's paste on every square millimeter of that paper. One thing I've not put on lists that you will want to have is a damp paper towel. Just to keep your fingers clean, or if you get paste on something you don't want to, it's a good thing to have. So once these paste papers are used, they need to be put aside. So they go in my recycling. I'm going to pull out a couple more. When I taught school, I've got the recycling from the copy room. Had enough for a lifetime. I guess I don't want to do that yet. I'm going to put my paper down, and I'm using this marbled paper that some of you have. And I've got the paste side up, and I can see here that I missed some spots. So I'm just going to quickly get those. And then I'm going to center that, and it doesn't have to be exact. Don't get caught up in exactitude, because your pages are going to be, covers are lined on the inside. Nobody's going to see this side. So get it as lined up as you can, and there you go. Put it on there. Just press it lightly. And I'll give you a minute to do that, and then I'll show you what we do next.
Want us to do both of them?
I don't care.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
You can follow, however you want to follow me is fine. Now, I'm going to, and this is, you've got weights. So I would suggest that when you do your second one, that you put this one under weight. So you need to put wax paper on top and on bottom, put it between 2 boards, and then put whatever your weight is, put that on it while you work on the second board. Anytime So that is a good argument for doing two at once. So anytime you're working on one board, the other one should be underweight. And what's going to happen, you just listen while you work. This is not going to affect your work. But when you wet one side of the board, this is true of wood too, the board's going to curve towards the wet side. And you can get some really screwed up books if you don't think about where paste is going to be. If you paste one side, it really is a good idea to keep it underweight so it stays flat and to find some excuse to paste the other side, which we're going to do in this book. It'll flatten itself out. So let's, go ahead and do both. I'm going to put this one, I'll do both of them.
I got the wax paper. My dog thinks I have food.
Of course. Go ahead and done both. And if you stack them up neatly, you can put them both in a press at the same time. Just make sure you've got wax paper between them. You don't want any paste to squeeze out onto the other work. So I'm just going to line these up so they're right on top of each other and go ahead and put those in the press. Where I wish I could see every one of your workspaces. Miles, are you a foot taller?
How much taller?
He's probably about almost 5'2" now, or 6'2".
Yeah.
Sorry, 5'2", 6'2".
He's shrinking.
He's shrinking.
Yeah,
This paste smells different than the paste when I was a little kid. You know?
That's not the same paste.
No.
Is that
this is very-
yellow? That yellow label? Oh, that's a different one. Okay. That's fine. I don't know that one, but that's fine. I've seen it.
It
You gonna
says it's
taste it?
perfect paste. Perfect paste.
hopefully it
Of
is.
course it is.
So you glue it and weight it down before you glue the edges?
Right.
Before you, okay,
Yep. You don't have to, but I like to let it rest a minute.
okay.
So is everybody done with both or not? I'm not
Yeah.
rushing anybody. Time to go
What
on?
are some people using for weights? I couldn't really find anything. I've just got a cinder block out of the garden.
That's good.
What I
I'm
have,
using big books.
just big. Oh, I see Carrie's got an iron, an old style iron.
That's
Perfect.
what I use.
I have
This
an
was
iron.
this was in my husband's family, and it's been a doorstop in our garage forever.
Nice.
So I dug it out.
And they're great because they have the handle. You can sling them really easily.
Yeah.
They're super heavy.
And I have a press back here that is wonderful, but not everybody has one. let's do something with these. All right. So, well, let me switch cameras. I'm sorry. All right, so I've got mine here. And it's a little shiny, which means some paste got on the wrong side. So I'm just gonna wipe it off with a damp cloth. And using scissors, we're gonna cut off these corners. So there are 2 or 3 different ways to do a corner. And this is the way I do it. You might read about other ways, and they are all fine. I've done it different ways, but I've pretty well settled for this. So I'm gonna clip this off at a 45-degree angle. And I need to leave. We're getting close. Wish I had a little more light. That's the next project. Get light on here. I want to leave enough paper here that you're going to cover this point. So it needs to be as much paper here as that board thickness or a little bit thicker. And again, it's not terribly critical, but if you get too close, you're going to have that little cardboard piece sticking out of your corner, and you don't want that. So I'm going to come out, I bet it's about 1/8 of an inch. And I'm going to just clop off a corner like that. And you can go ahead and do that on all 4 corners. And you can do that to both of your boards.
Okay, I got it. Thanks.
In the next part, you're going to get your fingers all pasty.
No, that's just good. Because
Okay, so obviously we're going to fold these over, and you want to do the ones that are opposite of each other. So, we're not worrying about grain in this class. Later we will. So really it's arbitrary. I'm going to do this. I'm going to fold the top and then the bottom of this one. And then I'm going to put that under weight or in the press. And then I will do the same to this one. And then we'll go back and do the sides. So to do these, I've got on paste paper. I'm going to run enough bead of paste across there. My paste get a little dry. I'm going to add some water in a minute. And you need to fold this over. And you can do that with your fingers. You could come here and fold it that way. You could take a bone folder and come back and forth like that. But what I like to do, and I'm hoping you can see this on the camera, I almost moved the camera to show this, is I've got it tipped about 45 degrees with this edge firmly against the board on a piece of clean paste paper. And I'm going to roll that up and make sure when it's vertical that I'm making really good contact with the end of that board. And then I'm just going to flip it all the rest of the way over. And it should be really nice and tight. Like that. And I've got some paste on there, more than I want, so I'm going to wipe that off with a damp rag. And then I'm going to put clean paste papers, flip it around 180 degrees, and do the other end of it. I actually learned this trick at a book bindery in Crawfordsville. I went there on a tour once, and they were professional binders in a fine binding shop working very, very quickly, just flipping those boards, getting them tight every time. Again, I'm going to wipe off some of that excess paste. Most of it doesn't matter. So you should have something that looks like that. I'm going to put that under weight and then do the other one.
Why don't you do all 4 edges at once?
I don't know. There may not be a good reason.
Okay.
The sides are slightly different, but it's not significantly different. You could do all 4 at once. Adding a little water to my paste and working it in. The nice thing is if you add too much water, you can just dig deeper. Mix a little more up with it. I do this in steps because I like to keep them under weight as much as possible. I guess that's my answer.
Okay.
But I don't know if, never analyzed to see if it really makes much difference.
Do opposite sides. Just opposite sides.
Oh, Story was waiting outside. I let her in. I have more time to look at you guys tonight. I don't know if that's good or bad. I think it's good. Okay, so I have a couple questions came through chat. One is what kind of brush, and I'm just using kids' paintbrushes, the big fat children's paintbrushes. And if I sent you a kit, you should have one. So if you didn't get one, let me know. I'll send you one. They're nothing special. It's just a big, this is probably not unlike what I used in class when I was in kindergarten. Just wood or plastic fat brush, China bristles. I like natural bristles. That's important. And then somebody asked, where can you get the book board? And I get it from Hollanders, which the websites, I've posted lots of places in your emails and on the Facebook page. Hollanders is in Michigan, and then we'll send you, I buy the cheapest, smallest pack, which is something like 8 boards. And I don't remember the price, but it's not terribly expensive. Don't buy Davy board or real, what Davy board is legit book board, and it's really, really hard to cut. And you're not making big enough books to warrant that kind of work. If we were binding Bibles that were 3 inches thick and 8 by 12, Davy board makes sense, but for these books it doesn't. I don't know if I could cut it with the shear that I have. I'd probably go to the table saw.
I'm just pasting the images. So, yeah.
This one's better. Do you need my towel?
It's fine. Thank you.
And we'll go ahead and show you how to do that second fold. I see a lot of people looking up. So if you're in the middle of pasting, look up for just a moment so you see how to do this. So let me get the other camera. All right, so if we were to just fold this one over, you just mush up those little pieces that are hanging over. And we need those little pieces to be protecting the end of your board, the corner of your board. So I use my fingernail, but if you have more finesse, you might want to use a bone folder or even an awl. And you want to take this, I'm going to use my fingernail, that's how I do it. I put my fingernail right up against the corner of that board, make sure it's as clear as we can make. This is, to me, the trick to making these look good. So you want to take my fingernail right up on that board. I'm just going to squash, I'm just going to turn and flip it and just squash it in a little bit. So there's a tiny break there. So now we have an angle like this and an angle like that. Can we see that? And I've got others to show you. I'll do it again. It's nice to see you, Shelley.
Nice to see you too. Thank you.
So we're going to come over to this corner. Like I'll use a bone folder because that's, if you read in the books, that's how to do it. I've always used my thumbnail. And you're just going to push that over. So you've got that little break there. So what that does is that's going to cover that little piece of cardboard, that little nub at the end, so that it doesn't show when you do the fold over. Once you've done that, it's just like the other side. Lay this down. And just run paste across there. And do the same. You're going to do it exactly the same way. I'm just going to tip it up against the workspace, work surface, and down. And now, I've got a little bit of paste peeking out, so I'm going to wipe that off with a damp paper towel. And you can see those tight corners just like a real book because it's a real book. Still a little shiny, gotta wipe a little more paste off. Moisture isn't going to hurt these. Wet will, but moisture won't. So I'm going to go ahead and do the other corner. Actually, I got my paste thinner than I want it. Still works. Tipping in those two corners.
Yeah, you can tell this one.
45-degree against the work surface, tip it up to 90, get good contact with the end of the board, then flip it all the way over. Press it down and wipe off the paste. Trying to get a little more light on. Just put my desk lamp on it, see if it helps. Does a little. Then once you've got all four corners, as you can see, it wants to lift back up, and that's another reason you want to get it underweight, is because it will hold. Once those things have been underweight for just a few seconds, they don't want to come up again. But they don't always want to stay where you put them. Once you have them both done, stack them up and put them under weights, and we'll do the text block in a moment. I think I use the term text block with quotes since these don't really have text. You know what I mean. If you're anything like me, your bone folder will get covered with paste. You need to wipe it off too. Everything gets covered with paste.
Mom, did you screw the paste on really tight or did it dry?
No.
I think I'm really weak.
Where's Will?
Probably playing video games, not to be disturbed.
Try the other jar.
I did. I have glue sticks. That's fine. I think I'm just weak.
They could have glued themselves shut, actually, which
Yeah.
doesn't help.
Put them upside down in a bowl of water or something, and they'll loosen up.
That's a
There
good
you go.
idea. And then next week I'll get Will to open them before we start.
Yeah, I don't think I got them that tight with my arthritis, but maybe.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Do it super tight.
Yeah. I'm
Childproof.
not alone.
Makes me happy to see all these people making books all over the place.
Good to see Shelly.
It is.
Good to see you, Sally.
Yeah, I miss you.
So much fun.
Well, 7 out of 8 corners turned out good. That's not bad.
And these are practice pieces. You are just learning.
Right.
I think I didn't cut one corner short enough. I think I got too much paper.
Okay.
I went back and got paste all over my scissors and fixed it.
I had to soak scissors after I do this.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same.
There's another corner I can show you, but don't do it tonight. But you might want to think about it. I'm just going to slap a piece of paper on or cardboard on here fast. But the corner I did for a long time.
Got it.
Put down. I sound like I'm demonstrating something. You can't see the camera. Please shout out. So here I've got a piece of lacta that probably isn't any good for this. It's just for demonstration. And I just glued it down fast. I only did this section. So you do it just like you did yours up to this point. And then rather than clip this off, you fold it back like that. And then get in with a bone folder and get it down tight against the board.
And why did you change?
I'm just showing you another one.
I mean, you said you used to do this, now you do it the other way.
This one's more bulky.
Okay.
It's thicker. And then you go ahead and do the sides just like we did before. Just if you want to, you know, try something else. So and you've seen this in commercial books too. They're both used in commercial books. That's what you get. So you have like a slot where that piece is at 90 degrees underneath. But it's thick. It's quite a bit thicker than what the first one. It's a pretty paper.
There is.
I bought all these wonderful prints when I was at the store this weekend, and I went to grab some to make the books tonight, and I have none left. You guys got it all. And that's fine. You got some pretty papers coming your way. All right, we ready to make pages?
Yes.
Okay. One moment, and we will get going. I did something where I can't see the work surface anymore. I don't know what I did. Oh, I know what I did. Okay, oh. Do you folks see the work surface now?
No.
You.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna get my page. So you should have 5 of these. And again, the number doesn't matter. It was arbitrary. Seemed like a good number. You're gonna need those in a bone folder and a ruler. And Candy asked me today, where I put it. Let's make another. There was a person we watched. There was a tutorial that I put up where a person had a plexiglass rod. It was exactly a 1/4 inch square that he or she dropped into the gutter to make hinges, which is not what we're doing now. But in a space, this is the gutter, the space here where the hinge is, and they did
Can't
that.
see it.
You can't see the.
We see your face.
Ah,
Boy.
yeah, my face isn't pretty. I did get a haircut today.
I noticed.
Yeah, for some reason, it won't let me share this camera. Oh, I think it will. Now do you see?
No.
Now?
Yes.
Okay.
Woo!
To get my Canon camera to work with Zoom, you have to run through 2 different levels of software before it gets to Zoom.
Oh,
Never know where the problem is. All right, so use templates and just things you drop into space takers you can put in to make sure everything's square and takes up the right amount of space. And Candy was watching a tutorial where somebody was putting together a cover with a hinge in it, like you'll be doing in 2 weeks. And we're not doing it this way, but they had a plexiglass or plastic rod they put in this space to take up the space. And I thought, well, we could do something like that for this book. But I can at least show you how. And then, oh, there it is. And I lost it. I made this 1/2 inch wide ruler. I don't know if it's a ruler. This 1/2 inch wide piece of cardstock, which is bookboard. And I put it in the shear and measured a 1/2 inch. So I don't have to measure a 1/2 inch over and over and over and over again when I do the next part. You might have to. I also have this ruler, which is actually a printing ruler. It's a pica ruler, the one I put in my apron pocket. And it's about a 1/2 inch wide. So I've used that too. It's not exactly 1/2 inch. So now you're gonna learn another use of your bone folder. At this point, we've used it, or we've used the bone folder in full paper and to turn the corners of covers. We're also gonna use it to score. In printing, we put the pieces of brass in a printing press that does it for us. But we're gonna use your bone folder. And we're gonna line it up on one end, or you can measure over a 1/2 inch, and then with the point, and you're gonna use a lot of pressure this time, because you want, remember I warned you about embossing it. This is one time you want to. So I'm gonna put that point right in there, and I'm just gonna run it down there with a lot of pressure. You're gonna get a really nice clean fold line there. I know you can't see that because it's white on white, but you all know what a score line looks like. You get one, it looks nice. There, you can kind of see it. So that's the first step to every page. Now the second step is you're going to fold this up, but instead of folding to the end, you're going to fold to the score line. I have a feeling my head's going to be in the way. Let me move this up. So I'm going to take that page exactly to the score line. I'm going to back out a little bit so you can see. I'm going to anchor it just like I did when we did pages last week. And then I'm going to put the fold there. And now you have got a page that folds exactly to that score. So that's step 2. Step 3 is to fold that score back, which mine is not doing neatly. And I went over it with a bone folder just to make sure it was there. So that's what you should end up with.
Was that first measurement a 1/2 inch?
1/2 inch, yep.
The second step, do we completely fold it or just score it?
I'm sorry, the first one is scored, the second one is folded.
Thank you.
And you will fold the score at the end. I put something, this hard table isn't letting me score deeply. So I put a piece of card under it, and that score will be better. I like masonry, but it doesn't have any give.
Let's see.
You should have 5 little Z cards.
Does it matter, Jeff, which of the folders we use are
Oh,
the bone folders that you sent in our kits?
no, I've only ever used this one. I've never used another shape. So I need to explore with one
Well,
and see.
the big one you sent, it's quite thick on the end. It's not giving me a good score.
So experiment with what you've got. Steel ruler might be a better option. I don't know. And if you really find that you like doing this, you might want to invest in a bone folder. They're harder than the plastic.
A lot of the things that I need are in storage in Indianapolis still.
I wish I could help you.
My whole life out here in Washington. Oh, I have that in storage in Indiana. Yeah, much better.
Okay, Jeff, go the third step I kind of missed.
Okay.
Oh, you just fold it back. I got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I just
Okay.
where it's scored, I'm just folding it back the other way.
Okay, sorry.
I tried to have those under the camera, but there's only so much space.
When I folded that little short half-inch piece, is it folded both ways or just one way?
Just one way. Just you want a Z shape.
Okay.
If you look at it from the top, they look like that. Guys, you are almost there.
That's okay. We're still folding away.
I'm not rushing anybody. We'll cut some paper in case we go further. I think. Five people that my nature journaling class is starting Thursday, and it's absolutely free. So if you're interested, you could text or email me, and I will get you an invitation.
my paper folded backwards? It's supposed to be like this, right?
You want the stub go, the little tab go the other way. Just fold it over the other way.
So I just need to fold the tab backwards?
Yeah.
Okay.
If I'm seeing it right. If not, fold it back.
All of a sudden I was thinking, I think he said the letter Z. I do know what a Z looks
I did say the letter Z.
I know what a Z is. That doesn't look like a Z. Now it looks like a Z. That's
Good.
right. Got that one dumb corner that doesn't look right. Jeff, all books like this, is it usually half inch? When you're doing it like this, is this usually a half inch or does it vary by book by book?
It was arbitrary. That's what I decided.
Okay.
No rules. You want enough area that the paste is going to hold, but I probably did that. I'm sure I did it because I have this ruler next to me that's a half inch wide.
Okay.
Sometimes the tool dictates the design. Form follows function, function follows form. If you watch some videos, you'll see people too, when they paste the boards down, rather than have this, I now use a half inch fold over, which is why I sent back new things for next week because I all had 1/4 inch. Nobody wants to mess with that stuff. But you'll see people paste down on a great big piece of paper and then drop a steel rule around the outside and trim to that, which is just a big pasty mess, but that's what they do. Right, I see more people settling in, so let's go on. So this is glue stick or paste. I'm going to use glue stick because I think I can control it better. And switch cameras. So I've got this laid down flat. Here's the tab here. And I'm going to stick a piece of paste paper up under this tab so I don't get paste on the pages. And I'm just going to run the glue stick on it. I love purple glue stick. You know where you got. Then I'm going to take the next page and orient it the same way. So the tab's at the top, plain one's on the bottom, and that's what the plain one is what gets glued to that. I'm going to put it on top. You can put it underneath. Guess you have to paste the other side. And then you want to make sure everything gets lined up. So I'm going to put it down on the board and line up the top and bottom and kind of pull the sides around. And then once you have it where you want, put some pressure on that glue stick and it'll tack up. It'll grab. And then you want to do that. You want to just continue that till you've used all 5 pages. And this is where you could go infinite. You could do something really fun or silly with 30 pages or 20 pages. This is something though where an error will get compounded, so make sure everything is square and where you want it every time, or the next one will be even worse. And again, you're practicing and learning, so what, it doesn't matter. These do get stuck together sometimes, but if you take a wet paper towel or a sharp knife, or even your bone folder, you can usually tease your way down through all the glot. You could also put wax paper between every leaf.
Okay, I have one that's bigger than the rest.
You do?
Yes,
Is that my mistake or yours?
I don't know. Guess I'll take it out.
I'm not going to pretend I didn't make any mistakes as a kid. Yesterday, I sent out, I think, 13 identical kits, and some were an ounce heavier than others. What does that mean?
Wow.
I don't know. I used more tape on one than the others? I don't know.
Huh.
Easy.
Okay. Somewhere I got a problem.
I suspect somebody got extra materials. I don't know. I don't mind that. If you get them, have fun with them. When you finish this block, you're gonna have one tab left over and you don't need that. So you can cut that off with a razor blade or scissors or a craft knife, whatever your cutting tool of choice is.
Okay, I think I'm gluing wrong. I need you to glue another piece down to another.
I
Okay.
don't have another.
I know, but I think I did something wrong because my page is falling off.
Here, I can make two more. Just give me a second.
That's a Z. And that's too long. I just maybe it goes this way. I think I just figured it out. I think I see what I did. I think
Okay.
I was putting it the wrong way. Let's see here. This fixes.
They should all face the same direction. And I'm going to cut this little tab off.
Okay, one piece was bigger. That's what messed me up.
Is it longer?
Yes, it was longer than the rest, and I couldn't figure it out.
I am sorry. I don't know how that got in there.
Okay, I still messed up. Wait a second. Daggone it. What am I doing wrong?
Well, that's why we practice.
So I glue tab to tab, right?
No.
No. That's
So,
wrong.
no. So here is a Z, and here's the tab here. So here's the beginning of the Z of the next one, and its tab is over here. So it's tab to tail.
That one messed me up.
Why I got you, gave you 2 sets of everything.
I know, but I just when I didn't have that right, it screwed with my head.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Now, how many kits did you cut, Jeff?
4 billion, I think.
That's a lot.
More than fit in a 15 by 15 print shop.
Okay, then I just cut off that extra tab, right?
Yep. Cut off that extra tab.
Okay.
found a great thing, Jeff, for glue paper. It's just kids' color books at the dollar store.
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
They're cheap.
No, that's great.
Phone books.
Phone books would be great because who really uses them?
Yay.
We use in printing class.
I'm it in a bag of chips now. Got it.
All right, last one.
Okay, let's see. Oh, I think I 1, 2, 3, 4. I had to fold one more.
Okay.
This is the last one.
And then on the last one, the last tab, you said we just cut off, correct?
Yes. So I guess if you were somebody that planned ahead, you could cut that last piece a half inch shorter. I don't think that way. Candy's celebrating.
That's right, because I was worried there for a minute.
We'll get you through it.
No, but I couldn't figure out why that one wouldn't work. But it's fine. It all worked out.
So if you were designing these books on your own, you'd have to kind of reverse engineer it. You figure out what size you want the book to be, and then measure in about 1/8 of an inch from each side, so 1/4 inch off each dimension. And then you could figure out your pages from there. And that's why it's really important that you make a model before you really go for the finished product, because there's a lot to think, reverse engineer whenever you design one of these books.
Isn't there somebody online that has figured out all the measurements for you?
Probably.
That's what I.
What fun is that?
Huh?
What fun is that?
I just wondered.
I mean, I had to do all this for these kits. That's not the way I work.
I know, but I just thought that was a good reference. Maybe we could just find somebody.
I have all these dimensions on envelopes in a box so I can recreate them. So if you ever want more kits, I can do that. All right. Let's put these together.
Yeah.
Those of you that work fast, thank you for your patience. I appreciate it. All right, so I've pulled out the 2 boards I pulled out of the press, and I want to orient them the same way. And it doesn't matter which way they are, but remember, you have a top and bottom or sides that are folded over. So I'm looking at these. I've got the ones that are folded over, top and bottom, folded under on the sides. It could go either way. Even if you had them different, nobody's ever going to notice it, but it is something you might want to think about. And for this, you can use paste or you can use glue stick. I'm going to use paste. And this first page is going to become the end paper for this board. So that's going to glue onto that board. And that's how that board becomes attached to the book. So
And
let me
is
show
that
you
toward the back? Is that the back of your book, Jeff?
right now, the way I'm thinking it is, but the book can be flipped either way. But
Okay.
yes. So I'm thinking of this is the back. Absolutely. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to paste it on here and center it so the margin is as equal as you can make it all the way around. So to do that, I want to flip it over because remember that's got to go that way. I'm going to put on the paste papers. I'm going to go ahead and lay it flat. This can just wherever out of the way. And if you like a glue stick, you can use that. I'm going to use paste. I'm going to put a piece of paper right just a little bit inside the fold to mask that so I don't get any paste in the wrong place. Let me put that up in the camera, I'm sorry. And it's all white on white on white. It's hard to see. So this is the book here. The fold is right there. I'm going to slide a piece of paste paper up over that fold, probably about 1 millimeter, just so I mask it, so I don't get paste up in the pages. And I'm going to switch hands because I'm very left-handed on this. And I'm going to paste that just like I have everything in the past. Get all those paste papers out of the way. I don't want to paste anywhere where it is. I'm going to flip it back over. And see how that's curling? Because it's got glue on one side, paste on one side. And if you don't control that curl, you're going to get books that are curved. It's going to happen to everybody sometimes. So I've got this situated so the borders are all the same. I'm going to flip this over this way. It's the same. I'm looking for stray paste. I've got a damp cloth. I'm just going to go around the edges. And when I'm happy with that, I'm going to put a piece of wax paper in here so that paste, so that moisture doesn't migrate to the other pages. I want that moisture, it's fine, but I want it just in that board. And then we're going to flip it over, and I'm going to do the same thing going the other direction. You are the quietest group of people.
We're busy.
I bet if we were all in the same room, it wouldn't be so quiet. And you are busy, I know that.
Now, is the paste going on the back of that whole page or just around the perimeter? I missed
Around
that.
the whole page.
The whole page, all right,
Yep.
thank
One of the things you're doing is counteracting the paste on the whole side of the board on the other side.
you. Got it.
So paste on one side is going to curve it one way, paste on the other is going to bring it back flat.
Sense.
And again, you want to put in some wax paper so you don't have a lot of moisture migration. You guys are minutes away from your first hardback book. Something like banging boards on the microphone.
Glue stick.
And then I'm putting that right back. As soon as it's together, I'm putting it back under weight. And I suggest tonight that, you know, once you've shown it to your family or whatever, get it back under weights tonight until tomorrow.
Thanks for playing for us.
Yeah, that's
All part of the service.
are you gonna be doing ukulele build classes again, Jeff?
I don't know.
It's hard to do that one on Skype, huh? Or
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that's
it won't
done
be
with it.
till after my wife goes back to work, which might be sooner than later. But I also have a huge job I have to do over the next 6 or 8 weeks that I probably won't be teaching much of anything. I've got to carve 60 Dalmatians.
Oh, that's for the, is it a hotel or something?
Yeah, it's a hotel. 60 of these.
Ugh.
Wow.
Where
I'm
are
going
they?
to be sick and tired of them. But they will pay for food and vacations and heating bills and
Where's the hotel putting them?
on top of a big armoire thing.
Okay.
In each room?
One in each room.
Nice.
I don't understand, but that's okay.
That's why I missed the first class. Job, working 2 jobs out here to make up for not working.
Understand that.
But I will be making frequent trips, the 2,200 miles to Indiana, because my first grandbaby is going to be born there in October.
Oh, wow.
So I will have definite incentive to come that way.
We'll drop in the studio. They lifted the quarantine in Maine, and now I'm too busy to go.
Oh,
of course.
something's not lining up.
Mine was kind of crooked too.
Mine's a little bit crooked. I think it has to do with the way I accordion folded my papers.
Yeah, mine did that too.
Oh, yeah. If something's a little crooked, it's exponential. And
It's okay. That's why I saved the prettier papers for my second try.
that was smart. Do you guys like your papers?
Love them.
Yeah.
Good.
I want to see Miles's. I just got a glimpse of it.
And then
Oh,
there's
that's-
that one, and then there's the.
Oh, I like that.
That's
Yeah,
a geranium
me too.
Italian
Geranium,
print.
yeah.
Pelargoniums.
Cool. I got it.
Yeah, that's pretty.
I like that.
Yeah. I think so too.
Too?
Jeff, how big is your shop again?
The print shop is 15 by 15 and the wood shop is 15 by 30.
Not too bad.
It's all in a
Not a lot of
basement.
space, but cozy, right?
It is. Right now, because when I have students in here, I worked really hard. Miles and I worked really hard to keep it clean. And since I haven't had a student here in months, it's getting a little rangy. Sawdust is piling up on the floor and tools aren't getting put away. But I make sure everything in this part looks good for you.
It's hard to adjust to a smaller space. The little house I'm living in here in Washington, my entire house is 600 square feet.
Wow.
Tiny. Little 1 bedroom, 1 bath, just tiny little house.
My sister's house is about the same size, isn't it, Sally?
No.
No?
But I'm living in 300 square feet, or less than that right now, 240.
Oh, wow.
Been in a camper for about 8 weeks now, I think. I might be exaggerating, but it's been a while.
When does Jeff get out? Or when do you get out?
The 13th.
Okay. That's soon.
Yeah. I know. I think he's in the clear.
Yeah. and retired.
Yeah, whether he wants to be or not.
I figure this is practice for when I want to go RV living here in a few
There
years.
you go. Yeah. I have a house, not even a house, a shack that's 12 by 16 the three of us lived in. For a while, not very long.
I only have to share my space with my dog, so I'm good.
That's perfect. That's what I can't.
Anybody-
I'm instant for I have a dog.
No. All right, I'm going to show you how to put a pamphlet in one of these. And then you can get as creative as heck doing all kinds of things. So I have, I picked up this really nice burgundy thread. I hope I gave myself enough of it. And I didn't do this the way I told you to last week because this is a very fine thread. So I'm doubling it up. And I'm beeswaxing it. I'm going to twist it. And I've prepared, I don't know, I didn't count the pages. I cut pages that would fit in this book. And here's my book. And you can see the glue is, the paste is kind of sticking it together, but you can get it apart. If you're gentle, don't yank on it. I'm gonna flip this around. I want this to be the front. And I'm going to sew that pamphlet in right there. Now this is really boring. I'll probably tear this out tomorrow and put a colored paper over it because that's just screaming for some color. And I'm not measuring because I'm being really informal, and I'm just going to do the 3 holes. I saw some of you were experimenting with 5 holes. That's really awesome. Any number of odd number of holes will work. And that move, there we go. Wiggle around and find the hole again. So essentially what I'm doing is making these 2 boards or this folded page become the cover. And concertina books don't have to be linear either, or not necessarily a straight line. There's a structure that I haven't made in years. I made it with students years ago, where you take a map or something and you cut, I don't know, it's hard to describe, but you cut it into square sections and it spirals around. And it will all fold into a book that looks just like this, but when you open it up, you get the whole map. Oh, I left the needle on there. It's not a big deal, but. So I just want you to get the idea that you can start combining the different things that you've learned how to do. And that's where things get really interesting. So you could do this and you could put hundreds of it. You could put pamphlets in every single one of these folds, front and back. And because it's not case bound, it doesn't have a spine, it doesn't mind having a lot of things stuck in it. This is why I like this for nature journals, because I like to stick things in my nature journals. And if you stick things in books, you break the binding. But this one will expand indefinitely. I mean, it'd be pretty funny if it was a foot thick, but you can do really interesting things with. And we flipped through these before. None of this is rocket science. This is a glassine envelope that's just pasted in. We did an overlay. We talked about that. This is it's nothing, just like the pamphlet. This is a glassine envelope that's sewn in with a pamphlet stitch. So you work inside the envelope. So there are lots and lots of interesting things that you can do. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what you do. That's just begging to have something glued on the front of it. I don't know what yet. But I'm really looking forward to see what you guys do with the structures that you're going to experiment with in the next week or so. Those of you that are posting things on the Facebook page, I really appreciate it. And let's up the ante a little bit. I'm going to have a door prize next week. In order to be eligible, you have to have posted something on the Facebook page.
Okay.
All right, that's what I have for you. Any questions, comments, discussion?
I love this class. This is so fun.
I do too.
Well, thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Well, I need to know that because when you work in silence, I can't tell. But I know you do.
The first class that I missed, Jeff, I can access that on YouTube still, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect. I've got the link. I just need to do that.
I may take those down when you're done. So if you want them, take advantage of them now.
Okay.
But I think if I offer these kits and don't have class and keep those up, who's going to take classes anymore?
Right.
But
I won't be able to do it until Thursday. So if you can.
well, that's
swing it
okay.
up-
No, they'll be there. They'll be there for a month. You're
Oh,
fine.
I'm good.